Imagine for a moment, if you will, a young man in search of some fun video games to play over the summer break stumbles across a store called Video Game Heaven nearby. After begging his mom to finally take him, they finally arrive at some rundown shack with litter and cigarette butts strewn about the pothole-riddled parking lot behind a liquor store with bullet holes in the door. Hesitant, the young boy gets out of the car and pushes the rickety screen door open. Upon opening the door just halfway, the musk of body odor and what can only be described as dog farts fills his nostrils and makes his eyes water. The brave young man presses forth through the stank-ass smell of unwashed ass crack and peers a wall full of classic Super Nintendo games. As the boy takes his first step forward, a terrifying dollar store Joker cosplay on a tight budget approaches the young man and says in a slimy basement-dwelling voice, "Halo." The young man, frightened that there would be a clown that smells like feces in a game shop, managed to choke out, "WH, where can I find a Super Mario Kart for the Super Nintendo?" The creepy shit clown smirks like a pedo and calls out to another man hidden behind mountains of dusty McDonald's toys in the distance, "Hey Chris, do you have Super Mario Kart for the Super Nintendo?" From behind the trash mountain emerged a sweaty white t-shirt stretched across a huge skinless butterball turkey that turned out to be another man. The store owner, perhaps? The human Thanksgiving dinner lets out a sigh and said, "I have one here in the display case," excited. The young man rushes over to a glass display case full of rare and collectible games and says with a smile, "How much?" The owner laughs condescendingly and says, "Sorry kid, that's not for sale. That's from my own personal collection." The one thing that made the kid happy in the entire store was ripped out from under him like a rug. "Oh, I thought this was a game store," the kid said, quietly embarrassed that he had asked. The fat greasy man behind the counter slammed his fists down, shaking the counter, and made his teacup man tits shake as well, and pointed his smelly finger at the UG boy and said, "Now look here, you brat. I'm so tired of little lip-tart kids who think they are entitled to everything and think they can tell me how to run my store, and when I refuse to listen they proceed to threaten me with a BLM loot at my shop. Ill damned if a little brat like you tries to rile up a bunch of thugs to destroy a hard-working white man's shop." The young man's heart skipped a beat as he stepped back in shock that the fat man snapped so very quickly. Terrified and slowly realizing that coming into this pigsty was a mistake, the young man was slowly backing back out towards the door, which seemed like miles away now. With every step taken to get out, the gargantuan store owner started telling louder and louder about how slavery wasn't so bad, and how slave owners had their name dragged through the mud and grouped with lesser slave owners. As the young man was just 6 feet from the door, he made a 180-degree turn and darted for the door and swerved past the neckbeard with clown makeup who had been loitering by the door and farting to create a noxious gas to prevent escape. Bravely, the young man held his nose as to not inhale the clown's asshole scent of sweat and Hot Wings feces. The door flung open and the cool autumn air was an absolute godsend as the boy could finally breathe clean air again. Popping back into the passenger side of his mom's can, the mom asked, "You didn't buy anything?" The boy in a trembling voice said, "No mom, this was a huge mistake, just floor it and get us out of here. I'd rather pay twice the price on eBay."